Faye Dunaway had everything: the beauty, the talent, the roles that made history. But behind the glamour, her personal life was a battlefield of love, loss, and regret. She had been in love before, deeply, with Marcello Mastroianni, the Italian screen legend. But fate had its own cruel script. Bound by his Catholic faith and unwavering loyalty to his family, Mastroianni refused to divorce his wife. Dunaway, yearning for marriage and children, waited and waited, but the moment never came. Their love story ended in 1970, leaving behind only bittersweet memories. Years later, in a rare confession, Dunaway admitted the heartbreak still haunted her. And for Mastroianni, even decades later, he still called her the love of his life. She tried to move on. In 1974, she impulsively married Peter Wolf, the lead singer of the J. Geils Band. One day engaged, the next married, but their careers pulled them in opposite directions. 5 years later, the marriage unraveled. Then came British photographer Terry O'Neill. They met in 1977, but their connection deepened over time. By 1980, they had married and adopted a son, Liam. For years, Dunaway insisted he was her biological child, until O'Neill shattered that illusion, publicly revealing the adoption. They split in 1987, yet motherhood remained her greatest role. Even as Hollywood took its toll, Liam was her anchor. Success, however, can be a lonely road. The morning after winning her Oscar for Network in 1977, Dunaway sat poolside at the Beverly Hills Hotel, still wrapped in last night's silk robe, the golden statuette beside her. The image, captured by O'Neill, became one of the most haunting photographs in Hollywood history. This wasn't triumph, it was isolation, the cost of stardom frozen in time. Despite the turbulence, Dunaway fought to reclaim her throne. In 1993, she guest-starred in Columbo, but this wasn't just another TV gig. Written by Peter Falk himself, the episode showed Columbo in a rare moment of vulnerability. Dunaway's portrayal of a wealthy, calculating woman drew rave reviews. It was a comeback, proof she still had it, and the industry took notice. A year later, she held an Emmy in her hands. Vindication, but Hollywood never forgets. The shadow of Mommy Dearest loomed large. When she took on the role of Joan Crawford in 1981, Dunaway had hoped for an Oscar-worthy transformation. Instead, it became a career-altering spectacle. The no-wire hangers scene wasn't terrifying. It was laughable. The film was ridiculed, winning 5 Golden Raspberry Awards. Critics were merciless. And Dunaway? She never escaped it. The film made money, but it cost her more than she ever imagined. She refused to let one failure define her. Television offered redemption. Gia, 1998, starring a young Angelina Jolie, was a raw, heartbreaking portrayal of the supermodel's tragic downfall. Dunaway, playing a tough yet compassionate modeling agent, delivered a performance that reminded everyone why she was a legend. Another Golden Globe. Another victory. Yet, just when it seemed she had rewritten her story, a new scandal erupted. Sunset Boulevard, 1994. She was set to play Norma Desmond in the Los Angeles production of Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical. It should have been a grand return to the stage. Instead, she was fired before opening night. Webber claimed she couldn't handle the vocals. Dunaway fought back, filing a $6 million lawsuit. The case was settled, but the damage was done. Another battle lost. And then, the final blow. Tea at 5, 2019. It was supposed to be her Broadway comeback, a one-woman show as Katharine Hepburn. But behind the scenes, chaos reigned. She was erratic, unpredictable. Crew members claimed she slapped staff, threw objects, and made bizarre demands. No one was allowed to wear white in her presence. Rehearsals spiraled into disaster. The production collapsed. She was fired. It was a public spectacle, a tragic reminder of how even the brightest stars can fade. Faye Dunaway remains one of Hollywood's most complex figures, a woman of immense talent, unrelenting ambition, and deep-seated demons. She reached the heights most could only dream of, but in the end, was the price of greatness too high? They say Hollywood is built on dreams, but for some, it's built on fear. And for decades, no one inspired more fear than Faye Dunaway, a legend on screen, a nightmare behind the scenes, But now, after years of whispers and cover-ups, the truth can't be ignored anymore. Her reign of terror has reached its breaking point, and the fallout is more shocking than anyone imagined. Faye Dunaway, once the golden girl of Hollywood, is now at the center of an explosive scandal. The woman who captivated audiences with her icy glare and flawless performances has left a trail of destruction behind the scenes, throwing tantrums, hurling objects, even slapping crew members. Her reputation for volatile behavior is nothing new, but this time she crossed the line. A Broadway production shut down overnight, not just firing her, but canceling the entire show. Decades of dominance have unraveled in a single night, exposing the dark reality behind one of Hollywood's biggest stars. But to understand how she got here, you have to go back to the beginning. Born Dorothy Faye Dunaway in 1941 in rural Florida, she was a fragile, premature baby in a strict military household. Her father's Army career meant a life of constant moves, from the U.S. to Germany to Utah, forcing her to adapt quickly. That relentless discipline shaped her into a woman who demanded control, both on and off the screen. By the time her parents divorced when she was 13, Dunaway had already decided her life would be her own. She wasn't just drawn to acting, she needed it. It was her escape, her identity, her power. She trained in ballet, piano, and tap dancing, mastering the discipline that would later define her approach to every role. But her intensity was apparent from the start. After enrolling at the University of Florida with plans to teach, she couldn't suppress her real passion. She abandoned security for ambition, transferring to Boston University's prestigious theater program. There, she honed her craft under renowned instructors and performed at Harvard's Loeb Drama Center. Just 2 days after graduating, she landed a role on Broadway. It was the beginning of an unstoppable rise. By 1967, Hollywood had taken notice. Dunaway's breakout role as Bonnie Parker in Bonnie and Clyde wasn't just a career-defining moment, it was a cultural shift. The film, a shocking mix of romance and unfiltered violence, divided critics but mesmerized audiences. She transformed for the role, shedding 30 pounds to capture the Depression-era aesthetic. The dedication paid off. Her performance earned her an Academy Award nomination and solidified her as a force in the industry. Overnight, she became one of the most sought-after actresses in Hollywood. But with that success came something else, an ego that refused to be tamed. Behind the scenes, her reputation was already beginning to crack. Directors and co-stars whispered about her intensity, her demands, her need for absolute perfection. Working with Dunaway was like walking on a minefield. One wrong move, and she'd explode. Even Otto Preminger, a director notorious for his tough approach, found himself at odds with her during Hurry Sundown. She fought to break free from a multi-film contract with him, unwilling to be controlled. Hollywood was taking notice, not just of her talent, but of her temperament. Then came Chinatown in 1974, the film that cemented her legacy. As Evelyn Mulwray, she was enigmatic, fragile, and hauntingly complex. Audiences were mesmerized. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. Director Roman Polanski, known for his perfectionism, clashed with Dunaway in ways that became legendary. One moment still haunts Hollywood lore when she allegedly threw a cup of urine in his face after he refused to let her take a bathroom break. The tension was unbearable, but the results were undeniable. The film was a masterpiece, earning 11 Academy Award nominations and securing Dunaway's place among the greats. But her most defining role came in 1976 with Network. As Diana Christensen, a ruthless TV executive, Dunaway was chilling. The performance won her the Oscar for Best Actress, the pinnacle of her career. Yet even at the height of her success, the cracks in her personal and professional life were widening. Co-stars and directors had learned to tread carefully around her. Her outbursts were legendary, her demands impossible. And as the roles got bigger, so did her expectations. Hollywood could barely contain her. Over the years, Dunaway's career continued, but the whispers grew louder. The same woman who had once commanded every room now found herself struggling to keep up. Projects became fewer, and conflicts became more public. And now, the world watches as Faye Dunaway faces